Well, old and crackadated here in the shed. I've got Ruff and Ridge here, and I sure do miss little Rowdy and Betsy Bug. Of course, if you've seen my other video, you know that the horses stepped on. What am I after? A bottle of water. Put on some more coffee water. Had to move that back toward the back of the stove. That thing's getting more efficient because what I've done is, like any stove that you got to get in shape for operating, watch out, puppy dogs. You got to get the ashes banked up in there when you've got no draft control on the front there. You got to get the ashes banked up toward the back, so when you lay a log in there, it slopes. That way it radiates more heat to the top of the stove. It's a lot more efficient now than it was to begin with. You've seen my other videos, you know that when I had trying to bake biscuits on there, I couldn't hear Ridge, here. I got your food right there. Sausage and biscuit. Oven baked in the house. Oh. But I baked them about night before last, before I went to bed. Had biscuits for supper with eggs. Made me a cheese omelet. Oh, let me turn this down. I'm sure that's picking up on me. Anyway, I bagged them in freezer bags, put them in the refrigerator, and they're really good this way. Of course, I let them sit on the stove overnight, covered with a lid, and they dry out good and harden on the bottom and top. As you know, I like a little crunch with my biscuits. And it gives them crunch. I can throw them in that pan, put them on the stove. They'll get crisp on the bottom, flip them over, and they'll get crisp on top. Like a little crunch with my biscuit. I've had a rough couple of weeks. Losing Rowdy and Betsy Bug has torn my heart out again. I've got such an empty, lonesome feeling. They were such sweet puppies. And that little Rowdy was well behaved. But what he did, he got down there in the corner of the pasture where I put the feed buckets and grazing for crumbs on the ground I'm sure what happened, the horses saw it and they thought there was feed in the buckets and went over there, and one of them stepped on his head on one side, and he managed to crawl because the gate has got a piece about a foot high on the bottom of it. Let him crawl right on the ground, and he crawled about 3 or 4 feet up under the pickup truck. And that's as far as he got. I love that little puppy. He was going to be a good one. And I miss those other 3. Oh, that other female, one that I'd already named. And she always slept with me when we camped. So out of the 3 nights that we camped, she slept in the bed with me all night, every night. Penny was a good one. Well behaved, minded me well, and tell you what happened to the tent. Well, I was gonna camp out, and this is before I took Ben and Betsy Bug and Bear in the house. Well, I set the tent up, and I made the mistake of tacking down the front door tight. They couldn't get in there. And something happened, I couldn't camp out that night. Don't remember what took place, but I didn't get things ready to camp. But I had the cot, I had my camping container, that golf protector, and my sleeping bags and all the stuff in it. But I already set up the cot. Well, Ruff and Ridge and the puppies went through the side screen window. I mean, ripped a big hole in it, because they could get on that golf carrier thing right there underneath the window and walk across. They spent the night in the tent. And when I looked out that morning about early light, here they were come piling out of the tent. It was real cool that night. The reason I'd planned to camp out with them. But they came piling out that window. They had spent the night in the tent, camped out, even though I wasn't with them. No. I'll give you a bite. Here, bro, right here, on my knee. Ridge, that's the reason your coat is so smooth. You are gonna eat. I think Ruff has been eating briars. His coat, I ain't never gonna get it trimmed. I have to trim with hand scissors. I've got to start on his legs and get them trimmed. I still got some long hair around his neck I've got to get trimmed off. Got to get that done before it starts getting too cool. That's a sweet puppy. My ladybug used to do that. I'd let her lick up the crumbs. I miss ladybug too. I just have been unfortunate with puppies lately. And they had a bad wreck out here on the highway yesterday. It took them all afternoon to clear things away, and they were out there late at night. I figured what that was, hazmat people, because they spilled 10 gallons of gasoline. Hazmat people out there probably dug up half of the roadside. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You dump gasoline or diesel on the ground, nature will take care of it. That's where it came from, out of the ground. So what difference does it make if it pours on the ground? And look at all the oil tankers that were torpedoed in World War II in the ocean. God's nature plan took care of it. You've got so much oil seeping out of natural formations into the ocean all the time. And if it's crude oil that spills, that crude oil eventually, most of it going to sink to the bottom because it is heavy stuff. I remember a dump truck full of coal turned over, and these people in a car just missed getting crushed by that thing when it turned over on the curve. They went right under that thing as it was falling over, and it spilled coal all over the place. Well, they called the hazmat team out there because there was some water dripping out of the radiator. No fuel spilling, but water with antifreeze in it was dripping out of the radiator. They called a hazmat team out there to put down big, look like pet pea pads to me, to catch that because it was dripping out of the radiator. How many times has a radiator hose burst and dumped a whole 2 or 3 gallons of antifreeze on the road? But environmentalists are crazy. They've got no common sense and very little scientific knowledge. I got a warning because I had bought some string ease for my guitar. It's a spray. Well, they've got this big hazard recall. Never said what the hazard was. Oh, might cause skin irritation. Well, some people's skin get irritated with most common household products. And there's nothing wrong with that stuff. I've had no skin outbreaks. I'm not going to throw it away. And I ain't going to send it back. I'm going to use it. Oh, it's under recall. Well, for what? They're so vague. Some smart-aleck lawyer decided to pursue it because somebody had an irritation on the hand after using it. Well, I'll guarantee you it was probably the nickel-silver strings they were playing that did it. The nickel is what a lot of people are allergic to. There's guitar players that cannot play strings with nickel steel. Their hands break out and swell up. They have to use bronze wound strings and stainless steel strings, or whatever I think they're a high silver content, and some people can't even play those. Makes me wonder how they handle a nickel when they get it back in change. I think people are allergic to common sense. Their head is where it's at. Now, I'm allergic to penicillin. I swell up and can drown in my own body fluids, but I'm not allergic to bread mold. It's only after they process the penicillin that I'm allergic to it. What about it, Ruff? What are you allergic to? Heat? Yes. Where'd y'all go a while ago? Did y'all go down to the pond? No? Or did you go chasing possums? Ridge has been spending the night at the food bowl to keep those 2 possums from eating out of it. I'm hoping they're going to get to eat tonight. The little bitty white possum with the one spot on its side. That's the cutest little thing. Looks like a little rat. And it's over 2 years old and still a little bitty thing. I mean, really small. And its mama or daddy or maybe its mate, I don't know. The big white one is still here. I was missing those 2 possums because and my little crippled possum, I could go out there and pet her. But she couldn't run fast enough, and I'm just wondering if Ruff and Ridge got hold of her. But I love my puppies. Just wish these 2 would get along. Well, this one gets along with cats. He just likes to chase them. But now Ridge, I ain't so sure about her. I think she'll kill one if she gets hold of it. But I'm glad to see 2 of my possums are still around. That little cute one, that is the cutest little thing. It ain't much bigger than a Norway rat. But I've lost so many puppies. It's just, after my 7 puppy camp is when it started. I lost 3. Of course, I'm hoping they got good homes, because they were down there at the stop sign, all them people stopping down there. But the neighbor said he saw Ridge laying down by the stop sign and the 3 puppies with her. So I'm hoping they got good homes. I would love to have Penny back, though. Oh, and I got a new guitar. I'm going to put that in a music video up in the studio. I was planning on using a little Mikado amp and unboxing it here in the shed filming. But it was so hot that day, I'm telling you, you could have roasted a marshmallow on a stick just by putting it on a stick out in the sun. I like my cast iron stove, and those fire logs that come in the packages. They'll burn 3 hours, and it really is nice to be able to light one of those and they burn pretty efficiently. And they do last the 3 hours. I had one last almost 4 hours. I had something across the front of the stove to dampen the draw through it. Made it last longer. There's a guy that's got a guitar and amp demonstration and all kind of pedals and stuff called Six String Stinger. That guy is funny as he can be. He pretends he's got a crew working in his studio and they're just so dumb they can't do anything right. He's always having to fuss at them. But he's got a good camera set up. He's got good automatic switching for his cameras, which I've got to get set up. But I'm still organizing the studio. I think I finally figured out what to do with that bed that's in the middle of the studio. Now, if I get it moved into the other bedroom, I'll have enough room to put all my guitars in racks there where that bed is at. And that'll unclutter the whole thing. And that'll pretty well get toward my total organization. Plus I can use that area as another video studio, because a lot of floor space. That's size is 82 by 62. Inches wide, so that's like 7.5 by 5. Pretty good sized spot, and I can arrange my guitar racks in an L shape and be able to get to my accordions and stuff behind me. I've got to build me I've got a stand I can use for my lap steel guitar. Get it set up there. I've got 2 of them. That way I can tune different. I can do the standard tuning that most people use, and then the detuning that works real well. You got kookaburras all in your hair, and I just got through combing them out a couple of days ago. I love you though, Ruff. You're a good boy. Yes, you're a good boy. Look up here at the camera. Let people see that pretty face. Complete with a dirt around the bottom of your mouth and dirt around your legs. Yeah, see there how pretty you are? Yeah. Well, I can't remember what it was I was going to talk about. I had a funny story that happened. I ended up going across the creek over there and buying another lawnmower. They've been real good to me. They give me a pretty good price on things. Whatever their asking price is, they usually knock $100 off. And they have no trouble selling whatever they put out there. They put one out there for $600. They sell it quick for $600. Bought me a lawnmower lift. It's a motorcycle lift is what it is, but it's got bars about this wide apart. They're about that long, and they'll work great for running up under the front of the lawnmower, jack it up, you can get to the electric PTO or pulley and everything. And it'll lift 1,500 pounds, and I've got 2 lawnmowers old Gilson's cast iron transmission house, and they are true hydraulic drive. They're direct drive from the engine to the transmission. And you talk about powerful now, they are powerful. But that 950 pounds, the one I've got down at the barn, got the deck off of, I've got to rebuild the deck on it. But I used it as a bush hog. I would run it up on the top of bushes and let the weight settle it down and just chop it. I'm talking stuff that big around. And I did that for 10 years on the bearing finally wore out in the pulley, and it started turning in, the bearing started turning in the hub. So I've got to weld that hub and put it on my lathe and machine it back down with the bearing. That right, Ruff. We can get her done. Yeah, I've got a brand new 29-inch lathe down there. I think it's got a 13-inch clearance on the spindle. But it'll take 29 inches inside the tailpiece. You good boy, my boy Ruff. I love you, buddy. They've been good puppies. And I was going to have Ridge fixed, but since I don't have but 2 puppies left, I'm going to let her have another litter of puppies. I'm determined to get me a slick-haired female out of the bunch. But Ben had got straight hair except right down the middle of his back and on his ears. Looks like a Cocker Spaniel down his back and on his ears. He's a pretty thing. Got a head like his mama. And Bear, that's still the cutest thing. His woolly hair. I brought him outside on a leash. First time I tried bringing him out on the leash, he wasn't going to have any part of it. He wouldn't even come out the door. So what I did, I put one of those little nylon choke leashes on him and picked him up and carried him out here in the yard and set him down and let him play with Ruff and Ridge. And he got where he'd walk around pretty good. I've got to get him where I can walk him on the leash because I've got to take him to the vet, get him tested for heartworms, get him on heartworm medication. But I wish they still gave the ivermectin heartworm medication. But ivermectin became so taboo for treatment of another disease, which anything viral, it kills. And it will not kill a healthy cell. There's good science behind that too, because it's used for treating parasites. There's a genetic makeup of all parasites that's the same. They've got this same genetic material that causes them to be a parasite. And that's what ivermectin kills. Because it attacks that and only that. It don't attack any part of the healthy cell. It only attacks that genetic material. And heartworms, that genetic material, it kills them. Roundworms, hookworms. And another thing that's a parasite is a virus. Now, people can argue this all they want to, but this is absolute science. There's no if about it. It's absolute science. But during a certain time, science was denied for political gain. And I'm sick of that stuff. And now the evidence is coming out. They know it killed a bunch of people by being politically correct. Politics kill more people than anything else. Ain't that right? Communism has killed probably 300 million people. It tends to kill anywhere from 10 to 30 million people in each country that gets taken over by it. Like that Chinese Red Revolution under Mao, 30 million dead. You disagreed with him? You disappeared. Oh, let me get up and make me some more coffee, puppy dog. Oh, I'll let you come back in. Oh. Oh. I'll watch them censor my video for talking about things that are true. You don't get punished for lies, you get punished for truth these days. Yep, a lot of people are getting punished for truth. But you can tell a lie and get away with it. Men cannot be women and women cannot be men. That's an absolute fact. No guesswork in that. And I'm about absolutes when it comes to truth. There's only two things in life, right and wrong. It's either right or it's wrong. There's no in between. God set it up that way. Sort of like when people talk about, well, you don't have to be baptized to go to heaven. Well, what does it say in the Bible? He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. You ain't baptized, you ain't saved. Period. I didn't make the rules. Why do you think Jesus was baptized? As an example to us to what to do to be saved. And baptism comes from the Greek word baptizo, which means to totally immerse. Sort of like when the Ethiopian eunuch stopped the chariot and said, "Here is much water, what doth hindereth me to be baptized?" He understood that was the way to heaven. Now, just getting baptized is not going to get you there. Arise and walk in newness of life. In other words, behave yourself, obey God's commands, and you'll get there. Ain't that right, buddy? And I see no mention of dogs going to heaven, but God said He takes care of all the birds and beast, and so I trust him to take care of them. And if he could see it in his heart, let all these puppies go to heaven. Well, so much for GoPro. About the sorriest piece of garbage that was ever put out. Well, they take fine pictures until they don't. And I don't know exactly where it cut off, so I don't know what I lost. I've got that same problem with that Canon camera. It goes, supposed to go 29 minutes and 56 seconds, but it don't. It cuts off at about 29 minutes. But you have to stop it and restart it. Well, I don't know how much of that I lost. Probably the most important part of my story. I'm so aggravated paying mighty good money for something and it gets so hot. Why don't they put the old&crackadated batteries in them? I'd rather have something that'll run for an hour and have to recharge the battery than have one run for 30 minutes and overheat and cut the camera off. Well, she likes that heat from that stove. Where'd old Ruff go? He's laying out there in the dark somewhere. There he is over there. Just like he gets hot in the light. Of course, he don't like getting close to the stove. He's got a lot of hair on him. I wish that camera would run long enough to get something done. It just, I guess I'm going to have to get one of those Osmos, or well, there's another kind that's supposed to be real good and not overheat. But that GoPro has given nothing but trouble and overheat in the summertime. Now, if it's real cold, it runs pretty good. And I hate to edit to chop stuff off. What I'll do is just replay it and then have to film a piece to go in there to fill in whatever it was I was talking about. But it's nice and cool out here tonight. Ridge says that warm feels mighty good to my head. I heard the fan cut on my power unit. Yeah, and they put those sorry batteries in there, and I noticed in Korea there was 140 cars burned up in a parking garage. One EV caught on fire and burned the whole place. And there was a electric vehicle that apparently they had unloaded the boat, pulled it to the ramp and unloaded the boat, and the car malfunctioned, and it don't have brakes if you don't have electricity. Something malfunctioned about the battery. The doors wouldn't open, and the thing rolled in the lake with the woman inside and caught on fire. And it never did say whether they saved her, but I don't think they did. But it was burning underwater. It's outrageous. There's not much future in ion batteries. And I'm even concerned about some of the electronics I have with those batteries. Because when the battery malfunctions, they tend to get between 2,000 and 3,000 degrees. And you can't put the fire out. You just try to keep things around it cool with water. Well, I'm going to turn this camera off because it's probably going to overheat and quit again. That's a real shame. It's putting an end to GoPro. They're not selling many cameras now. I'll never buy another one. It does no good to seal one watertight if it's going to catch on fire. Maybe the reason they made it watertight so you can put it into water and keep it cool down. Well, old and crackadated. If it can, it will. And I definitely had some bad luck. I sure do miss my puppies. That little Rowdy was a sweet thing, and so was Betsy Bug. And Betsy Bug was a calming force for Ben. And now she's gone. Ben is as rowdy as Bear, just about it. He's just not as strong. They've demolished 3 lamps in the house. I'm talking totally demolished. One was a floor lamp I've had for a long time. But after they got through with it, there's not much need in fixing it. I'm thinking about taking it down to the shop because at least it will work as a lamp. I just got to put the top piece back on it where they knocked it apart. I don't want it in the house because it burns the shop, that's one thing, but if it burns the house, that's another. Yep, old and crackadated. If it can, it will. It probably already has. I just haven't found it yet.